welcome back to the channel. My name is Keith. So today we're going to be talking about lies and all the lying lies that these chord charts tell you on a consistent basis and how to fix them. So whenever you're first starting to play guitar and you want to learn a new song, your first inclination would be to hop online and look up a chord sheet or a tab sheet or something that'll kind of guide you along the way and play the song, only to pick up that chord sheet and that'll look something like this right here. We're using Pink Triangle by Weezer as our example, and I'll show you exactly why. But it says E minor, A minor 7, D, and G. And I'll go ahead and put these on during a demonstration. But when you see that and you start to play it on your guitar for the first time, you're probably going to be playing it one way, whereas the way that the artist played it is probably a different way. More than likely, it's a different way, especially when they're playing it on an electric guitar. So we're going to fix that for you right here, right now. All right, so as you saw in the intro, we're doing Pink Triangle, and I demonstrated the first kind of verse leading up to the chorus of the song, and there's so much to distill just from that one example, and we'll just go ahead straight into it and figure out what the heck is going on here. So I'm going to display the chords for this as I'm going along on the video, but right off the bat, we have verse, chorus, and you'll see here, hopefully the camera focuses in pretty well for you here, but you're seeing all these big chords on there, but you don't know exactly where those chords are on a neck just by reading that, unless you have tabs. But even tabs, throw those out the window, because when you watch Weezer play live, Rivers Cuomo doesn't do the same exact thing twice when he's playing the song. Nonetheless, from one verse in the same song to the second verse, he does it a completely different way. Okay, so just before we go ahead and get started, I want to let you know the song was recorded tuned down by a semitone, so that's a half step down, so we're in E flat tuning. So if you're going to want to sound like the record, you're going to want to tune down a half a step and go from there. Okay, so for the first verse of the song, we have an E minor, an A minor 7, a D, and a G. So when you're first starting out on guitar, what does that mean? If we're just playing it straight like what we're reading there, this is how it's going to sound. Okay, so here's that E minor, then an A minor 7, then a D, then a G. Okay, that sounds a little bit like it, but that is not the way it's being played on the record. The way it's being played on the record is like this. You have your E minor, but you're not, it's more of a power chord, really. So take a look, you have the E minor, and you're only fretting down on that second fret. And then the A minor 7th would be right up here, and it's not really an A minor 7th. It is an A minor technically, but it could also be an A. But for the purpose of this, we're going to be fretting, we're doing it in power chord form, so we're just hitting these top two strings. That's the way that Rivers does it on the record. So it goes from the E minor to the A minor. That's the 5th fret of the low E string and the 7th fret of the A string. And then we have the D, which if you think about your bar chords, you have a D right here, right? Which is the same as this D, but we're playing it up here. Okay, so we're getting somewhere, but to keep in kind of in tune with this whole power chord thing, we're just going to take those two strings for the A minor and just drop everything down exactly the same by one string, then you have your D right here. Alright, so now we're getting there. So we have the E minor, the A minor 7th, then the D, and then we're going to do the G power chord right here, which essentially, here's your G right here, your E-shaped G, but we're just playing the top or the bottom two strings here, so the 3rd fret and the 7th fret of the E and the A strings, 3rd fret and the 5th fret of the E and the A strings. And another thing they don't show you on that chord chart is that he kind of backs it up. I believe they kind of signify that as a G over F sharp. So he does this. So you're moving from the 3rd fret to the second fret on that E string, then you start back over. So all in all, it sounds just like this. All right, so that is what Rivers did, at least on the live performance that I saw. He was doing a bunch of different things, and I'm going to get into that right now. So, one thing that I did notice that Rivers did in this live footage, I'll just go ahead and put a link of the show that I'm talking about, and you'll be able to kind of key in on exactly what I'm seeing here and the way he's doing it live, which is, again, completely different than what he did on the record, and it differs from verse to verse. You'll see it in the video. So, with that E minor, what he is doing here is doing this, and in the middle of singing that first part, what is it? When I'm stable long enough, right? When I'm stable long enough, he's kind of lifting his hand completely off and just hitting just that low E string. So while he gets his other hand, left hand, his fretting hand, ready to hit that A minor right here. So he's going right up there, and then that gives you the flexibility to kind of avoid the whole, this sound that you got going on here. He's just, but there is more to this. If you wanted to, you have an E right here, right? You could play that E minor just like this. But that gets into the whole Cage thing where you have different inversions and it sounds a little bit different, and just by nature of being further on this way up the guitar, it's going to be a little bit of a higher in tone kind of E minor instead of that. So we're just going to stick with down here in this area of the fretboard. Okay, so now the beauty of what Rivers Cuomo does in this, he's completely changing up the way that he plays it from the first verse to the second verse in this video, which I will link below just so you could see. So in the first verse, he's doing the traditional thing, which is the way I believe he's doing it on the record. But then when he comes around the second time, he's doing this. So what exactly is he doing here? So he's just playing everything up here in kind of an open power chord position, if there is anything like that, which is what it is here. Instead of playing it up here, why he did that, there's many reasons. Maybe he was just, just kind of like not feeling up here and he just felt lazy, or I'm not going to even say lazy. It all sounds amazing because he's a rock star. But I digress. The way that he did it there was you're hitting this E minor right here, those same exact top two strings, or bottom two strings, the E and the A string, second fret on the A string. That's your E minor. Then the A minor, you just bring your middle finger or whatever finger you want and fret the second fret of the D string while you're hitting just the A and the D string, and that gives you that power chord. And then for the D, he's doing this. So he just moves that down one more. So it's... And the G, he does the same. Now, what does that mean? So we have an E minor here. We already know that one. And then the A minor is basically, you have your full A minor chord right here. But we're just hitting this top note, so we're just targeting the A and the D strings here. And that's your A minor, and then your D, here's your regular D. But he's just hitting the D and the G string and fretting down on that second fret of the G string. And then back to your normal G. All right, those are the two different ways that he played it in that song. Again, two completely different ways to play the same exact thing. So let's kind of roll through both of them in tandem, and you'll see how similar they actually do sound. And in context to the rest of the band playing, it really doesn't make a difference to the audience. They don't know the difference, and for all they know, he's just up there not playing, but he is playing. He's just confusing everybody. So let's just go ahead and play it. So we have the original version is. So the moral of the story is the chord charts are not necessarily lying to you. They're just not giving you all the information that you may need to play the song the way you want it to sound like. So tabs, in my opinion, they might be a little bit better, but they're just a microcosm of what people think is on the record. And for all intents and purposes, it probably is what is on the record that you're listening to, but you never know. That's the thing. The source of truth is the artist themselves, and 9 times out of 10 the artist is going to play things a little bit differently every single time they play it. A recording of a record is just a snippet in time. That band plays that same song over and over and over, and they're going to change things up just naturally. It's just the way things work. So the best thing that you could do is do as much research as you can on the songs that you want to learn. Watch videos, watch people on YouTube show you how they play it, and extrapolate from that. Compare it to the actual artist playing it live, because I've watched several people on YouTube show you how to play a song, and then it's not right. It sounds probably perfect, but it's not exactly right. But then again, what is right? Because when I'm watching a video of Weezer playing Pink Triangle and Rivers Cuomo is doing things completely different from verse to verse and even switching things up in between the same verse, there really is no source of truth. In my opinion, the source of truth is whatever that artist is playing on any given day. That's the source of truth. So don't get stuck on these chord charts. Don't think and don't assume that everything is just open cowboy chords. And that's where this whole cage system, so to speak, is so important, because you could play this E minor instead of doing it here. You could play it up here, right? And that's it. If you thought that was helpful, I really do appreciate a like and subscribe if you can. I do have a Venmo tip jar if you're interested. I want to get this EP that I'm working on out the door. Push it out the door for everybody to enjoy. So with that said, I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye. Perfect.